Welcome to a new episode of What If Civilization Started Over. We are at episode 4 and today we're going to see what the red team will do against the purple team, the orange team and the green team, because the red team invaded all those countries suddenly after a long war between these four countries. The magenta and the orange one didn't existed then. So first we will look at the green team. We have of course a new leader since the war ended, and this red team leader invaded this green part of the Green Kingdom and they captured this settlement. Not really many people lived here, but there were enough, and the green team was really confused why it happened. They were on the same side the last war, but quickly they came with an agreement and the Red King says, I want to expand my land. Up north it's mostly impossible to invade the purple country and the orange country, because the purple, aka the magenta country, originated by the ones who defeated us, and the orange country originated from us and ourselves. So they are like stronger maybe, and they're like on the same level as them. So they don't really want a war actually, they just want some land, what they really wanted to have. So the red team was able to get this part of the orange country. This was just like a small stroke. They didn't really care. And the purple team was like, okay, don't invade anymore and you can keep the land you took from us. If you will do anything more, we will invade you. So the red team agreed. Why they got so close to the settlement was unknown and didn't really already take it, but it was fine enough by them. And with the green team, the red king was like, let's get me a part of your land so I can expand to the south. And the green team was like, okay, I will agree on that, but just leave me alone. Don't get any more land from me. And the red king was like, okay. But the green team was saying, I want my settlement back, so they agreed. They got their settlement back with a small pod between it, but the red team really wanted this area. So they agreed. The red team was now finally able to expand again alongside the coast, because they lost a lot of land in the last war and just wanted more. So there was an expedition, found many great lands, deserts as well, but it was good enough. They also just wanted to expand greatly this time and not get in anyone's way, so people were going to an expedition to search for new land. Back at the orange team, they decided to discover this island and take it from themselves. Also this island and all those others they found while expeditioning. And they eventually found new land, greater land. But it was getting colder and colder up here, but they were actually not really against the cold. But they realized it is much greater land than all the deserts we found all those years ago. There were also people still in England, well, that's called England nowadays, and they wanted their land right here. They started to expand rapidly, and eventually they got a pretty great amount of land. They even got a boat across here and got some more land over here in, it's called Northern Ireland. But then they came across a little camp by people. The orange team thought that it was their own people, but it was not their own people. Who was here then? Well, it was the red team. They crossed the ocean via this point and they suddenly came on land right there. Was it coincidence? Kinda. But the red team didn't have this much land. No, they already got this amount of land here in Ireland. And the orange team was like, they didn't really mind and just bordered each other without really getting a problem out of it. And after a long expedition, they got every part of this land that was available for the orange team to get in England. They also got a good portion out of Sweden and a good part of Germany. The blue team was still working on connecting their two parts of land. They knew about each other and they slowly worked their way towards each other. And after many weeks, maybe even months traveling, they finally found each other. And they proved it was a big circle all along. And after many weeks of debating whether they would claim this land that was all theirs, they took the risk and claimed all the land that was to get. There was a great portion, but there was nothing there yet. Just barren deserts and sand and more sand. Back at the Cyan team, the Cyan King wanted to know if this was like a bigger ocean or it was just a little sort of lake. And also here, they found each other by just walking around. And the Cyan team was like, hey, maybe we can really use this now for our advantage and just trade across this water without using land and just going around it. So the Cyan team was more invested in this part of the world than they were here at the Alpines almost. They were so invested that they sort of forgot about their settlement right here. And whether it was cold or not, the Cyan team was growing and they made a few new settlements. Also to update the map in England, there were a few more now, and also in Sweden there popped up a little bit, and in Germany also. Also slowly but surely the dark blue team started to settle because their older city was going to just overflow with people and they knew it was a great place here, so eventually many people moved here down here and just made children, and their children made children, and their children made children. And so on and so forth. That's how evolving works in life. Many more settlements started to pop up in the Blue Country, all along the coast. So let's say 50 years passed without really a great thing that happened. In the meantime, the Red team did discover some more land, but it was just getting too hot. And they just returned back home and said it's like a barren desert in the south. We don't actually want to be there anymore. We want to be here in Ireland. Their Red King already passed away, the one that got the land from green and the one from purple and orange. And this new king decided some things that could have done differently. The first thing he decided was, can we get this island for ourselves? A man that was living here, under the name of the king, started to talk with the one from the orange team on this side. They sort of were getting along, but also they weren't, and it was like, just stay out of our place, we are living here, Red, don't bother us, like what you always do. Because now it was pretty known in the world that the Red team did start a war all the way back here. It started a war with blue, it almost started a war with green, orange and purple, and now Red even wanted more land. But why? They already got a great amount of land, but they knew they weren't really getting much more land out of their journeys. What they did got were the islands here, the Canary Islands. But it was just out of really topic, but I had to make sure they were colored in as well. The one man that was talking to the Red King indirectly started to spread the word, watch out for the Red team. They can just invade our country back in France. It's not called France, but you know what I mean. So be prepared. But something happened that no one really saw coming. A part of the orange team turned against them in favor of the red team. Long before the orange team discovered there was a red settlement here, one of those already got here in England, and they sort of got along and wanted to sort of make their own out of it without Red King's involvement or the Orange King involving in it. So they made their own decision by stepping off and making their own country. The Orange team wasn't really happy about this. Neither the Red team, because it was originally the plan that this was going to be the Red team. So what the Red team did was going to invade them. With the words that they betrayed the Red King. They started to invade. Also, the Orange side was going to invade this time. And they met each other at this part. But the Brown team fought back and even got some land out of it from the Orange side. They even popped up there on the other side of the sea and got some land from both parties. A small war had started. The Orange team and the Red team were really baffled by how good they were at fighting and how, like, how many people they were and how strong they were, and they even got a settlement that was running by the orange team, and they lost it. And eventually, they lost another one. How were they so good at fighting? Was there another country involved in this war? The red team was invaded here and just fled across the ocean back to where they came from. And also the orange team was not able to get these guys out of it. And the brown team started to get a lot of land out of it. They got many land out of it and people were still coming. Although the orange and the red team killed a dozen, there were still many people still fighting for this new brown team. Where were they coming from? Well, it was the blue team. Why? Well, maybe you can remember that the blue team really wanted to go up north where everyone was, but they couldn't. They were stuck between green and cyan. They didn't really know they could go around. They don't know about the places. They wanted to be there. So one man of the red team and one man of the blue team, they were all sort of getting along. And they meted at this point here. This is the place where they sort of talked and they were agreeing on going on a journey far up north to get land from whoever was there. And without both teams knowing, the red and blue team, that they were actually sort of cooperating with each other, without them knowing, they took some land for their own and started to invade the countries that were living there. Eventually the red team and the blue team figured this out, and they both weren't really happy because the red king didn't want to involve with something with the blue king, and neither did the blue king want that. The blue king just opted out of it and was saying, I don't want to be a part of this, so left this case. But the red king was mad, and he even asked the green king, can you help me with this little problem we have back in the north? But he disagreed and he just ignored the red king in this case because, well, sort of they threatened. They had to offer land to the red team. They were like, screw you now, figure it out on your own. This is another problem that we are involved in now. Sadly, the brown team was able to get all this land from the orange team, and they even got some more. And they were starting to get really worrying. The orange team just couldn't fight back. And the blue team was like, how can they still run at this point? They knew because of the red team and the green team, and eventually the news came in the blue team, that people were still coming. But the blue team didn't really knew he had people fighting back in England. So after a long discussion, eventually he agreed to fight alongside the red team to get this infestation out of there. So after a long agreement and that the red team didn't really could do anything, they finally could fight back. Together with the orange team this time. But they all were fighting under the red team's name because they had the best quality of weapons and just were good at fighting in general. They got many land back from the brown team, but they just really cannot really handle that much more because the brown team was popping up at some places too, like where people didn't really knew they were there. The south of England, at the top. So the news was spreading without the orange team wanting to let it spread. It even got thus far, here back at the original place where the red team took a stroke from them. And this whole part started to just disattach from the orange team. And the orange team was now in trouble. They were losing land quickly because of the red team that was combined with the blue team, that you started off a new land. You see it as two really weird guys coming together and saying, let's get that land. And they did. The red team even was going to fight here, but they didn't really could do anything. The purple team was left alone, also by the brown team, because that's pretty clear. The purple team originated from the blue team, so they didn't have any fights. And now it was getting so worrying that even here up north in Sweden, not Norway, was also popping up the brown team. They were spreading quickly, and the word was already spread enough that the orange king couldn't really do anything anymore. So he was going to sit with these two men and they were going to talk about how they could fix this little war with themselves and with the red and blue indirectly involving with this war. So the fights were stopping and they were going to this place where it all begun. The Orange King, the Red King, and even the Blue King were going to talk right here. And there was going to be a peace treaty. Hard one for all, but the best one for all. And this is how it's looking now. We had a brown team up here in Sweden, but that one disappeared. And they got a great amount of land here in England. It was a really great amount of land, because without that, they were even still in a war. And the red team lost a little amount of land that they got back, but that's sad, but it's true. And the capital city of this new country is where it all started, right here in England. The last thing what we're going to see is what the purple team will do. Because there were finally some brave people that wanted to climb and wanted to surpass these alpine mountains that were here, sort of around there. So a smaller group amount of people started to venture through the mountains, and months of traveling, they finally got some better lands. And they came across, of course, the orange team that was settling there. Were they happy? Well, they knew this land was not really taken by anything or anyone, and the orange team knew that, and also the brown team knew that. They all came together and were going to split this land evenly, sort of evenly. This is what the purple team was able to get. This is what the orange team was able to get, and this is what the brown team was able to get. A filled-in France. It was really looking ugly, and the brown team, well actually, and the red team was not really happy about this settlement that purple had, or magenta had. So these three were also going to sit together, but nothing came out of it. Magenta really wanted to stay here, and why? No one knows. So this was it for this episode of What If Civilization Started Over. Next time we will see what will happen more in the south, because people are preparing to get more, very much more into the east. And we will see what the cyan team will do with the green team, because these three were actually pretty silent and peaceful this episode. Well, yeah, blue was not really, but it was one man from the blue team. But this was it, and I will see you next time.